you cannot murder people because they said something on a poll. It's so unhinged. All right, so this is Abby Martin. Abby Martin's incredible, but there's so much garbage put up against her in this clip that she can't possibly refute it all. So that is not her fault. This is Piers Morgan. He actually doesn't do much of the talking, and this is a propagandist for Israel arguing with Abby. And I just want to play a few little clips here. And by the way, the Israeli propagandist clearly knew that if you just talk over it all, then nobody will really learn much.
17,000 trucks of humanitarian aid have entered Gaza. Some of them that are being stopped right now on the border are actually being prevented from entering by Egypt, not by Israel. Israel has inspected them and approved them.
Okay, so let's start with that. 17,000 trucks of humanitarian aid. Oh, well, that is to assume that people in Gaza just need aid and they just, Israel's trying to give them aid. Well, let's think about this for a second. Let's actually break it down. Why do they need aid? Well, because they're in prison. Most countries, and this gets forgotten, most countries, almost all countries, but most countries in the world, the people in the government, unless the government stops their own people from leaving, the people are allowed to leave. They're allowed to go to other countries. They're allowed to be tourists. They're allowed to visit things. They're allowed to see things, right? And that's actually under UN law. That's one of the rights of a country. Now, there are countries where the dictator won't let his people leave. That does happen around the world in some places. This is different. This is the people trapped in Gaza, not allowed to leave by a separate people, by Israel. Israel is not allowing these people to exit an area, meaning it is a prison. And in fact, there is a wall with barbed wire. Boy, what does that make you think of? Oh, a prison. So these people are trapped in a prison. So the idea that Israel allowed aid in, even just that concept, is ridiculous. That a people should have to have the permission of their attackers, of their occupiers, of their oppressors to get food. I mean, just that concept is insane. But we keep hearing, oh, Israel allowed this aid in, or blah, blah, blah. Furthermore, you notice she said that some of it is stopped by Egypt. Now, I don't know whether that's actually true or not. I think it's a lie. But even if it weren't a lie, let's say Egypt, for God knows what reason, were to stop some of the aid. You know why we're talking about Egypt? There are 7 entrances through Israel's wall that Israel built, making the people imprisoned. There are 7 entrances. Only one of which, they recently allowed one of the northern entrances open for a bit, but basically one of which is actually active, the one to Egypt. So when she's talking about Egypt, that's because these 6 exits from Gaza, entrances and exits of Gaza, gates to Gaza that connect to Israel are all closed by Israel. So when she says Egypt wouldn't allow aid in, well, Israel has closed 6 out of 7 gates. The only one that has remained slightly open at times is the one that goes to Egypt. So it's laughable for her to say Egypt stopping the aid. Well, not true. If Israel wanted aid to get in, they just go to one of the other gates that they control. Right? Even in that one sentence, it's just such amount of bullshit. Now, Abby can't even get to talk because there's too much to break down in this tiny little interview. But on top of that, the woman just won't shut up because that's her job, right? Is to talk over everything and cover up the truth.
Furthermore, the reason that aid isn't being distributed properly isn't because of Israel. It's because of Hamas.
Of course, that's a straight up lie. As I already mentioned, Israel has closed off 6 out of 7 gates. They don't control the 7th gate, so they can't exactly close that one off, but they've closed off 6 out of 7 gates. And why are there gates? Why does a country even have gates? Oh, it's because you built a fucking wall around the place, turning it into a prison. Again, just garbage stuff. Absolute lies. But a lot of people don't get to that, think about that deeper level. Why does a gate need to be allowed to open by Israel? Because they built a wall, because they turned it into a prison to begin with. A lot of people just skip over that.
So 70% of people in Palestine are of this view.
So, okay, what he's mentioning is she brought up a poll saying 70% of those in Gaza support Hamas or supported Hamas's actions on October 7th. She goes, well, look, yeah, a lot of people are getting killed, but 70% of them support Hamas. They supported Hamas October 7th. What is not being mentioned there, what is not being discussed, is whether that's true or not. She could be lying, as he's about to say 50% of everybody in Gaza is children, so are you counting them in this poll? Anyway, but aside from all that, even if it were true, what would it matter? You cannot murder people because they said something on a poll. It's so unhinged. Like, oh, you said something on a poll? Well, then clearly you should be murdered. It's fine to murder people who said a thing on a poll. Even if 100% of Gaza supported Hamas, you still can't murder innocent people. This is equivalent to saying, well, you know, in Nazi Germany, there was a poll of the Jewish people, and they said that 70% of them said they don't like Nazis. So we get to kill them, right? Fine by us. As long as they polled like that. My point is that even just bringing this up is moving the goalpost as to what's allowable for what's allowable in terms of what type of people you can kill, you can murder. You've moved it beyond just they have to be doing you harm. They have to actively be trying to shoot you. They have to actively be a militant coming after you. You've moved that goalpost all the way to they said on a poll that they kind of like what had happened. It's so egregious. And Piers Morgan is actually, you know, he's a piece of human garbage in many ways. He's not the one talking during most of this, but piece of human garbage. But he tries to push back a little by saying, but 50% of Gazans are children. Are you counting them in this poll? Now, that's true. 50% are children. So are you acting like those people are guilty? The 50% that are kids? She also mentions, but again, you shouldn't even act like the poll matters. Again, it could be 100% support Hamas. You still can't murder them. Still can't. Still genocide. Still ethnic cleansing. Still completely unhinged, still horrific, still oppressors, still occupiers. None of that changes because someone said something in a poll. She also brings up the fact that Hamas is democratically elected. So that means that the people are responsible for what Hamas does. Nope. That's not how elections work. Guess what? Trump was elected and Biden was elected. Does that mean that when Trump and Biden do horrific shit, it is my fault and you can murder me? No. I hope not. And murder my children? Like, no. Because that, again, is so psychopathic and unhinged. But the whole democratically elected, the last election for Hamas was 2006, meaning all of these children, 50% of Gaza, weren't even alive or were barely alive when that democratic election happened, meaning over 50% of Gaza had nothing to do with the 2006 election, which was the last election. So again, this is just idiocy to even entertain this as mattering. And the reason, and I know you guys love Abby. I love Abby. I've had Abby on this show many times. The reason I'm not playing mostly Abby clips is because I wanted to tear apart the stuff that she didn't have time to because she was getting talked over or because it was just too much to deal with. So I'm specifically picking apart the bullshit that Abby didn't get to.
This very extremist jihadist ideology.
By the way, I don't know why this woman keeps, she looks CGI or something, and I don't know why she keeps smiling. I was trying to remember what her weird, creepy smile reminded me of, and kind of ironically, it fits with today. It reminds me of Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden video. Doesn't she look kind of like that? Appropriate for the day, right? Eclipse, Black Hole Sun. She looks a lot like that woman.
It's an unfortunate reality that Palestinian children are dealing with.
Why we're killing loads? Why we're killing?
So right there, she said, well, you know, a lot of these children also endorse Hamas or support Hamas because they're indoctrinated. First of all, no one is more indoctrinated than Israel. Okay, Israel is the most brainwashing I've ever seen in my life. Almost everybody in Israel is in the IDF at some point in their life, meaning they get 2 years of full military indoctrination into that garbage worldview. She's, projecting what it is she has, which is indoctrination. But on top of that, let's say every child, every little boy, every little 5-year-old in Gaza supports Hamas. Wouldn't matter. Still can't murder them. Still a war crime. Still ethnic cleansing. Still genocide. So this whole all those little kids support Hamas. Doesn't matter.
12, 13,000 innocent children, whatever the exact number is superfluous to the general proportionate effect that so many kids have been killed.
I don't agree with these numbers.
Well, how many do you think?
By the way, she keeps saying she doesn't agree with these numbers. There is almost no one, even in Israel, who's still saying these numbers aren't correct. Because, yeah, it's coming from the Hamas Health Ministry, but every time that unbiased observers had come in and checked what the Hamas Health Ministry has said, it's been accurate. So the Hamas Health Ministry gets it right every single time that they have been investigated. So these numbers are completely agreed with. And actually, they're low because it's not counting those lost in the rubble. So she keeps saying, oh, I don't agree with those numbers. Well, you're just lying.
Think you've been killed.
We don't know. We do not know at this
And yet
point.
you're
but
very
also,
happy on the
you
Israel
have to
side.
consider the fact that there are many of them
let me ask you a
between the
question.
ages of 14 to 17 who are members of Hamas.
How many
and we have seen that proven.
How many Hamas terrorists have been killed?
We don't know. At least 9,000, though.
So you have
at least 9,000. We don't know. Yeah, you have no idea. You're just bombing everyone everywhere. That's what you're doing. And it's a full-on genocide. And you are a disgusting sack of dumpster fire. And yeah, get a new job, lady. Get a new job.